What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are basically going to continue our coverage over the Trial of X era of X-Men comics, where we actually do pick up with Excalibur number 22. Now, with that being said, when it comes to Excalibur, this is our first time actually picking up with the team after the Hellfire Gala event. Now remember, the Hellfire Gala event was really more of Marvel just trying to wrap up the big Reign of X era of X-Men comics with a good crossover. And of course, they did that, and it did work out to lead the X-Men in a new direction for fans to wonder what's going to happen in this new direction the X-Men comics were going to go after the Hellfire Gala event. Now, with that being said, though, when it came to Excalibur, nothing really big happened to them in that event right there. The only big thing that happened to them is that really you had Great Britain tell COPPA that their alliance is no longer going to happen. Like basically, it's Great Britain saying, we no longer look at COPPA as a nation. We're now going to say they're not part of our alliance and they have moved away from COPPA. Now, the reason why that had actually happened is because of two different reasons. The first reason is because, well, Bessie Braddock, she is Captain Britain. The problem is, though, she disappeared for a good period of time. But when she did disappear, Great Britain's kind of like, our protector, our Captain Britain left us behind unprotected. How can she do that? What kind of captain does that? But on top of that, the ambassador of Great Britain is also the leader of the Coven of COPPA. Now remember, the Coven of COPPA has been the main bad guy for the Excalibur team throughout this entire run, but on top of that, they do work for Morgan Le Fay, somebody from Otherworld. Now, Otherworld is basically another dimension that is connected to connected to every single universe across the multiverse, including dimensions as well. Now, with all that being said, though, Morgan Le Fay was the main bad guy in the first storyline, and the Coven COPPA works for her. But that was the biggest thing that happened to Excalibur in the Hellfire Gala event. And so with this book, it's going to begin the process of saying, okay, let's see what's going to happen to the Excalibur team now after the Hellfire Gala event. Now, to begin today's video, we actually do pick up with the Excalibur team in Otherworld. Now remember, when it comes to Otherworld, it is connected to every single universe across Marvel's multiverse. Now with that being said, though, right now you have the Excalibur team in Blightspoke. Now Blightspoke is basically this area that is poisonous, but here's the catch, though. It is also the trash ground for destroyed realities and universes across Marvel's multiverse. So basically that when a reality or a universe is destroyed, it's not destroyed completely. There are some pieces left of that reality or that universe, and it does end up here in the Blightspoke area. Now, with that being said, though, right now you have the Excalibur team here with Beast trying to collect different samples of the Blightspoke. Now, while he's collecting, they are confronted by Sheriff Whitechapel. Now, Sheriff Whitechapel is a newly made character. She only first appeared back in the X of Swords crossover event, and really just briefly. Now, with that being said, though, she's kind of like the authority in this area, because with this area being the trash ground for destroyed realities and destroyed universes, you do have a lot of people coming here trying to collect different things from this particular area of Otherworld. And so she makes sure that people just can't come in here and take things away. Now, at first, you do have the Excalibur team trying to collect samples and everything, and that's still a huge no-no. But you have Excalibur, really Beast, tell her, listen, my devices can recreate my sample here as like a 3D model at home. As long as I'm able to collect pictures and everything, and my pictures are good enough for my machines to recreate what we saw here, then technically we are not breaking any laws at all. And so once Beast tells her that, you do have the Whitechapel tell Excalibur, okay, fine, you guys can leave then. As long as you guys are not actually taking things out of here, just pictures, then you guys are basically good. Now, in the next section, we do see the return of Pete Wisdom. Now, remember, Pete Wisdom was a super spy for the United Kingdom. But on top of that, he was killed off in the Hellfire Gala event. So my mistake, two big things happened in that storyline right there. But either way, though, Pete Wisdom was killed off by the Coven of COPPA as a way to free Morgan Le Fay. Now, here's the thing, though. He was killed off by Reuben, and Reuben is the leader of the Coven, but also the the ambassador of the United Kingdom. And so he basically was the one who told United Kingdom to no longer work with COPPA, but on top of that, use Pete Wisdom as a sacrifice to free Morgan Le Fay in Otherworld. And so right now you have Pete Wisdom coming back to life thanks to the Five. Now remember, the Five is basically 5 mutants who do have the ability to bring you back to life by making you a new clone body. And then Charles Xavier or any psychic who can use Cerebro download your memories into your new clone body. And so with them coming back to life, he's wondering what happened to him, and you have the Five and other characters tell him, well, man, listen, you were killed off by Reuben, the leader of the Coven of COPPA, and they also used you as a way to free Morgan Le Fay. On top of that, you can no longer go home to your home country because they close all the gates that lead to the United Kingdom, because now the United Kingdom no longer works with COPPA. And of course, you have been declared dead. That right there is very huge. You can no longer go home like you want to. But then we jump over to the Starlight Citadel. Now remember, the Starlight Citadel is basically the home of Saturnine, the leader or the queen or the main person in charge of Otherworld. But with that being said, though, right now you have this meeting happening between all the different leaders from the different areas of Otherworld coming together because Merlin have basically called this meeting to talk about what he does not like what's happening right now with Otherworld. And what I mean by that is, it's not really more of him saying like, oh my God, look at Otherworld, it's turning trash, it's looking disgusting, or you're basically a weak leader, look what happened to Otherworld. He's really upset with the idea that Saturnine, newest Captain Britain, which is Bessie Braddock, is a mutant. But on top of that, because now mutants do have a clear access gate to Otherworld and are able to move freely around Otherworld, it's Merlin saying, look at what you did. Now you have these witch breed, basically another bad name to call a mutant, walking around our areas like there's no big problem here. Like, these people are bad for our area. They're bad for our universe, are bad for our dimension. Why are you basically allowing them to walk so freely across our world right now? Now, here's the thing though. This is also Merlin very upset with the idea that he lost his control over Otherworld to Saturnine, because he was the one who was originally in charge of Otherworld, but he had lost it to Saturnine. Now, you do have Saturnine basically in the meeting, and she's kind of like, listen, if you hate me so much, fine, whatever, but there's no way possible I'm going to give up my seat back to you, Merlin, because you failed when you were in charge. And you're just upset with me because I allow mutants to walk around freely in Otherworld. Now, once the meeting is wrapped up, you do have Saturnine and also Bessie Braddock talk. And really, this conversation is more Saturnine saying, okay, listen, I have no idea what Merlin is planning or plotting, but he just basically declared war against me and the mutant race. And so we need to figure out what he has up his sleeve that could basically affect us down the road. We need to work together to figure out what he is plotting to do. Now, you do have Bessie Braddock agree to help out Saturnine, but she does say this right here. When I come back after finding out what he's up to, I want to know one particular thing. How did you steal the control of Otherworld from Merlin? Because if he was in charge, what happened to have him lose his control over Otherworld to you. And you have Saturnine say, I'll tell you after you come back with the information we basically need. And so you do have the Excalibur team make their way over to Merlins Tower. Now, when they do arrive at Merlin's Tower, this is the perfect time. And the reason why, because Merlin is not there, which means that they are able to move freely without the idea of worrying of him appearing and coming after them for basically breaking inside his tower. Now, while they go inside his tower, they do start off in the dungeon, where of course they do free all the prisoners that Merlin has taken over the years, but didn't get to his actual room. Now at first the room is locked up, but thanks to Gambit stealing some particular cards from Saturnine, he was able to bust open the lock to let Excalibur actually move inside to look around and figure out what Merlin is basically plotting to do against the mutants, but also Saturnine as well. But while they're looking around, they do find this particular well. Now, as soon as they find this well, that is the moment they are confronted by Merlin. And you have Merlin tell us what's inside this well, or what is this well. Now, he does tell us the name, but that's really it. He does not tell us what the well actually does. But apparently this is the waters of all reality. That's really it. The waters of all reality. That's all we get to know about this well, and that is it. Because right after he tells Bessie Braddock and the Excalibur team about the well, he says, listen, you know the name now, but you broke into my home, and I no longer take prisoners. I go ahead and kill people for breaking inside my home. And so right now you have Merlin trying to kill off the Excalibur team, which means they have to leave right now if they basically want to survive. And luckily for them, they were able to escape because they were able to use Richter power to travel underground, where they do find a random train and a random train track. And of course, they're able to get away from Merlin before he's actually able to kill them. Now, we actually jump back over to Pete Wisdom. Now, this is actually a very important moment. And the reason why, because right now you have Pete Wisdom trying to get used to the idea of living on COPPA. But on top of that, though, he is confronted by the Five. And this is the Five saying, we actually were able to complete your request. And you were right. The 4 people you asked us to bring back to life, they were mutants. But the thing is, though, the entire world did not know these 4 mutants were basically mutants. Like, these 4 characters had these abilities, but no one realized that they were mutants. Now, these 4 characters have been around for a good period of time in Marvel Comics, but either way, though, these characters used to work for Great Britain alongside with Pete Wisdom, except these 4 characters used to work for the psychic division of Great Britain's secret government program, but they were all killed off throughout the years in Marvel Comics. And so this is Pete Wisdom saying no one knew they were mutants, that basically this entire time we all thought they were just people with psychic abilities, but in reality they were mutants. And now I'm going to bring them back, and we're going to make Great Britain pay for forgetting us, getting rid of us, but also ending all connections with COPPA. They're going to make a new team called Strike, and this Strike team will be going on different missions to make Great Britain pay for what they did. But then we jump back over to Merlin. Now remember, Merlin's still plotting something against Saturnine and also the mutants, but we have no idea what this man is actually plotting to do. But that is the moment you do have Merlin actually go back to his dungeon, where he says, listen, there is one particular area that is so defended by magic that it cannot be easily overcome. And the good thing, those mutants or witch breed did not find this particular area and try to break it open, because in this area, he's holding a prisoner, a very special kind of prisoner. And this prisoner is King Arthur. And this is huge because King Arthur was the one in charge of, well, you know what? I'm going to save that information for a future video down the road. Just know, with King Arthur being here, things are about to pop off very soon. But with that being said, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So with that being said, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.